Welcome to the Know, I'm Ashley Jenkins. Certain Nintendo Switch games have received a little bit of criticism for their price. Super Bomberman R, for instance, is a $50 game that doesn't have a ton of content. I really wish I hadn't dropped that much money on it. And the upcoming Ultra Street Fighter 2 has been called similarly overpriced at $40. And that trend doesn't seem to be slowing down. The long-awaited Tequila Works indie title Rhyme finally got its official release date yesterday for PS4, Xbox, and PC, where it will be priced at $30. Meanwhile, the Switch edition, which will come out at a later date, will be $40. The developer didn't give any indication of the actual release date for Switch, but a Tequila Works representative did offer a comment on NeoGAF about the price difference, saying, "When we released our suggested retail price, we took into account many things, including development, production, and manufacturing costs. When the decision was made to do a physical release for the Switch version at $39.99, it was done so based on those factors. That is the bottom line. We are not attempting to take advantage of a freshly released console." Well, it's good they didn't just do it without rhyme or reason. Price points aside, good news about the Switch's launch continues to roll in from around the world. In addition to being the best ever launch for a Nintendo console in the Americas and Europe, we're now hearing word that it's also the best Nintendo launch in Australia and New Zealand. Nintendo Australia released a statement writing, "Across Australia and New Zealand combined, Nintendo Switch sold more in its launch weekend than any other Nintendo hardware in history." They also said launch title Breath of the Wild was the best launch ever for a Zelda game, and even outsold breakout hit Wii Sports in its first weekend sales. Recon Wildlands had a hugely successful beta a few weeks ago, topping out at nearly 7 million players across all platforms, which was actually a record-breaking number for Ubisoft. And apparently those big beta numbers have turned into some really solid actual players for the game's release. Video game stat trackers GitHype released an analysis of Ghost Recon Wildlands player numbers so far, showing that the game has averaged a higher daily concurrent user number than at any point in the game's beta. This is, of course, only a look at the PC numbers because that's what we're working with, but that data could suggest that Wildlands debuted with enormous numbers. We won't know for sure until Ubisoft actually shares them. It's currently well in the top 10 on Steam's most played list and on Twitch. We'll just have to see if the player base pulls a For Honor over the next couple weeks. And that game's already lost half its players, and that's not great. And the Division and, well, maybe it can buck the Ubisoft trend. One of the most celebrated parts of Shadow of Mordor was the NEMESIS system, which created a personal experience for each player based on their orc arch-rivals, and was really very cool and groundbreaking. The NEMESIS system returns in the upcoming sequel, Shadow of War, but according to some kind of dodgy non-answers in a recent interview, your particular nemesis could return from the first game thanks to save imports. This interview comes courtesy of Games Radar and Monolith Productions creative vice president Michael DePlatter, who was a little bit surprised when Games Radar asked him if save files could be imported, saying, "Oh, I don't remember what we're allowed to say about that." DePlatter ran off to ask a PR representative about whether or not he could talk about it, and then returned with, "We're not saying anything at this time." So that's obviously not a confirmation of anything at all, but it does leave open an exciting possibility for the first game's players that the second game could continue their personal vendetta with familiar orc assholes. And isn't that really what we want out of a Nemesis system, is just those assholes that you like really hate, and like the individual ones that you could just go after. And the fact that he had to go check, I don't know, it's promising, right? Now, if you're trying to avoid Mass Effect Andromeda spoilers like the genophage, you might maybe possibly want to stay away from the achievements and trophies lists. The trophies for BioWare's space RPG have hit the internet ahead of the game's release, and apparently some of them give away some of the game's major plot points and choices, which is huge. That shouldn't be much of a surprise to anybody, but just giving you a friendly PSA in case you were curious but you're worried about spoilers, maybe don't go look them up. In other Mass Effect Andromeda news, some PC players are a bit concerned about the game's performance. Now, we've known the recommended PC specs for a bit now, but players have discovered, thanks to an EA support page, that those recommended specs are designed for the game to run at 1080p and 30 FPS. And if you're a PC player, you know that that's not as high as it gets these days. If you're curious, those recommended specs are equivalent to an i7 4790, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a GTX 1060. Of course, there still might be options that let you spec for performance rather than graphical fidelity so that you can prioritize a 60 FPS frame rate if you want, but we'll have to wait until the game's actual release, or maybe it's early access, or it's EA access or Origin access, depending on your platform, trial to find out for sure. Or until BioWare just comes out and tells us. Now we've got some more details about how Destiny is going to end. In a live stream, Bungie officials gave some details about the game's last update called Age of Triumph, which launches on March 28th. It's really not that far away. GameSpot reports that the update will bring back the game's old raids, including Crota's End, Vault of Glass, King's Fall, and Wrath of the Machine. Every raid will be raised to the current light level, and they will each have new ornamental armor. There will be weekly featured raids, which will be tougher than before, and while this is the last major live event before Destiny 2, Bungie said that the original game will stay online for the foreseeable future. Now, switching tracks a little bit, breaking news, it's good to be rich! Yeah. Disney shareholders got a sneak peek at some clips of The Last Jedi at the company's recent shareholder meeting in Denver. So, just so you know, we're gonna open a GoFundMe if you wanna help us buy some Disney shares so we can go see that stuff. GameSpot reports that the new movie picks up immediately after The Force Awakens. Like immediately, with Luke Skywalker and Rey on a mountain. According to tweets from Los Angeles Times reporter Daniel Miller, Luke asks Rey in the Last Jedi clip, "Who are you?" Which is understandable. There are also appearances of Chewbacca, Finn, and General Leia Organa, who was on screen in military garb and didn't speak. There are also lots of settings, including mountains, deserts, oceans, and forests. There was also a shot of an X-Wing under attack inside a giant ship. Also, at the meeting, Disney's CEO Bob Iger said a few words about Carrie Fisher, who portrayed General Leia and died in December. Carrie Fisher has been an iconic part in this franchise from the very beginning, he said, according to the Los Angeles Times. "We all miss her. She has great talent and wit. We're proud that this movie coming up is part of her legacy." Very well said. The Last Jedi hits, I'm lumping up a little bit in here. The Last Jedi hits theaters on December 15th. Have you ever wanted to hear Wonder Woman say the F word? I mean, why not? Would you like to see some hardcore Aquaman on fish sex scenes? Of course. Maybe. That seems like a subgenre for sure. Well, you might just get your wish because DC is looking into making a lot of R-rated superhero movies. Yet, the trailblazing company looked at the success of movies like Deadpool and Logan and apparently thought, hey, we can do that too, because their movies aren't already dark and grim enough. The Wrap quotes a DC insider who said that the studio would definitely be into the idea. 100% yes, with the right characters, the person said to The Wrap. Fans apparently want it too, at least fans who already like R-rated superhero movies. According to a survey from Fandango of 1,000 Logan ticket buyers, 71% said they want more superhero blockbusters rated R. But then again, if you're going to see Logan, you're probably cool with your superheroes swearing and doing R-rated things. It's like, hey, Brian, do you like video games?
Yeah.
Kdin, do you like video games?
Yeah.
Eddy, video games? Eddy's listening to music, but I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. Mika, video games? Yeah? Yeah? All right. 100% of people love video games. It's the way this works. Be careful what you put on your phone. CIA might be watching. According to a release from Wikileaks, the CIA now has the ability to break into Android and iOS smartphones, as well as all kinds of computers. According to the UK-based independent newspaper, the US intelligence agency has been involved in an effort to write various kinds of malware to spy on just about every piece of consumer electronics, which means that the CIA basically can access all your data and know where you are at all times, which is concerning. The agency also looked into hacking the software in cars to be able to remotely control them, which is extra exciting. Oh, and according to the WikiLeaks release, the CIA can also put special software into smart TVs to use them as listening devices. So, sleep tight. Does anybody watch Person of Interest? That's that TV show about mass surveillance. It's feeling real familiar all of a sudden. I like that show. It's a good show. Jim Caviezel's real cute. And Anyway, that's all the news we have for you guys today. Let us know what you think of all the stories down in the comments. Make sure you get your news from every corner of the internet every single day. Like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the know. And even outsold the breakout Wii Sports. Created a personal experience for every player based on their arch rivals. The Nemesis arch rivals. Bungie said that the original game will stay online for the foreseeable.